Good evening, guys. I'm Chris, and welcome back to this Wednesday's episode of Rift Amps. This is the brown panel PR18 that I've been building recently. It's all up on the bench, all up and running, but I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with the way it's currently sounding. Very unusual now, because usually they hit the number straight away. It's doing the right output power, but I'm not quite happy with the EQ section of the amplifier. The tone controls, they're not working or responding in the way I want them to. The output from the tone stack isn't quite where I want it to be, so I've got some tweaks and adjustments to do. This is all par for the course, and this is exactly why you shouldn't build amplifiers and just send them out the door. You have to test them to make sure that they're running as intended. So we'll work out what that is. It's not an issue. It's all par for the course. Because if I send it out like this, the customer won't be happy, and he'll return it. And of course, that's no good. You've got to make sure you're doing your proper QC all the time. Right, Q&A time. So I'm just stripping down the squealy basement. This is the one that's got that awful multitude of oscillations and squeals and all sorts of fun things going on. So we're going to put this thing back to stock and hopefully give the customer a really, really nice working amplifier that he can actually use. Anyway, Q&A. So first question is from Xander, who says, why the hell did he rewire the heater wires if all he did was turn a combo into a head speaker cab configuration? That sounds incomprehensible. Well, yes it is, because he didn't rewire the heaters. Those heaters were wired that way from the factory. And it's just that over the years, every time a tech's had it in front of them, they didn't bother to check heater phasing. So that's all that was. And the minute you do that, especially in the preamp section, you get a drastic reduction in noise. And of course, if you deliberately wire your heaters out of phase, you get a noticeable increase in noise. So it's always something that should be checked and done, as I said before. But to answer your question, the owner of the amp didn't rewire them. That's how they came from the factory. Just found this, the shielded wire that goes from the normal channel inputs on this basement over to V2. I've got enough light on there, hopefully. Try and get you a good view, zoom you in there. If I just wiggle it, you can see the ground connection wasn't even soldered. Right, thumbnail and title time then. So this is a very, very early 1968 Fender Deluxe Reverb. It's a silver plate amp with the drip edge aluminium frame around the grille. It's got the really nice silver and turquoise cloth that I always think looks great. And this is owned by a working musician, a touring musician who's out on the road all the time and gigs this amp nearly every night of the week. So what's it in for? Well, it is an import. And unfortunately, it's too early of an import to have the voltage selector on the back, so he could run it at 240 volts or 230 volts for his EU gigs. So he's got to use a step-down transformer. And if it was in his, it was just a studio amp, or in his man cave at home, that'd be fine. But as it's out on the road every night of the week, he's fed up with lugging a step-down transformer around, quite a hefty one as well, because you do need, quite a beefy unit to run a valve amplifier. He's asked if I would do a 240 volt conversion. Now, depending on the amp and depending on its use, sometimes I'll say yes, sometimes I'll say no. There's lots of different things to consider, but considering in this situation, in this case, what the amp is, who the owner is, what its use is, I think doing a 240 volt conversion is a perfectly good thing to do. It's a good ease of life upgrade for the amplifier, for the player. He's never going to ship it back and use it in the States. It's always going to be here in the UK or on a few European gigs. And because it's a workhorse amplifier, ease of use and plug and play is kind of a priority for him. So it's a good upgrade to do. Now, bear with that in mind, it is still a vintage amplifier, and it still deserves, the highest standard of work, the utmost care and attention, and to do these things properly. So because the mains transformer inside the amplifier does not already have a 240 volt tap, it does mean fitting a replacement mains transformer. I should say at this point, sometimes I call these mains transformers, sometimes I call them power transformers. I use the two terms interchangeably. Don't shoot me for that. It's just where my head is at that particular time. Anyway, so this is, so I don't build a Deluxe Reverb style amplifier anymore, but when I did, I had these units specially wound here in the UK, in the north of the UK, to match the specs of the vintage unit as close as possible to the nearest volt, to the nearest winding spec that you can get. Although there are some reliability upgrades done, so it's wound using modern techniques, bits and pieces like that. But as far as the player is concerned, tonally, this will be identical. And as I said, I don't build Deluxe Reverb style amplifiers anymore, and I had a couple of these left on the shelf, so when the customer called, I haven't got to buy one in. I've got one here ready to go, and I can get this job turned around nice and quickly. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to fit this unit. Going to need a new mains cable as well, of course. We need to change the fuses over. So as we all know by now, as voltage increases, current decreases. So as we're now double the voltage, we are half the current, so the fuses will need halving in value. It might be a good idea at the same time to fit a HT fuse or B plus fuse to the amp. Give it a little bit of extra reliability and, not reliability, a little bit of safety and security. So if something does, if a valve does blow, we've got that extra level of protection. Protection is the word I was looking for. So anyway, let's look around the amp. It's in surprisingly nice condition. A lot of the silver panel stuff or silver plate stuff that comes through, they don't age as well as the black plate stuff. So they end up looking pretty rough sometimes. But this one, especially as it's a road amp, it's pretty nice. It's not bad at all. Not bad at all. Very little signs of tarnishing and rust on the chassis straps. The handle looks to be in great condition, although I don't know if it's original. That chassis strap there, just a tiny, tiny bit of corrosion, but nothing bad at all. The panel itself looking great. None of the letters or markings have rubbed off. It all looks good. The knobs look to be in great condition. Original dual light. There you go, Deluxe Reverb amp. So this is a really nice condition amplifier. We'll just spin it around. See, this is why I need a Lazy Susan to help me spin these things around. As we look at the back, you can see we've got it's already had a 3-prong conversion, which is a good thing. It's got the auxiliary socket there, which of course we need to disconnect. Ground switch in there, again, will be disconnected. Might have the bright cap. I can still see the tail leg of the capacitor there. Mains fuse should have a 2 amp. Oh, God, that fell out, didn't it? Should have a 2 amp in there, which it does. When we convert this, we need to halve it to 1 amp. On standby. It's got the original Fender speaker plug with the F cap on. They're often lost by now, so it's good to see them. It's got the UL badge on the back, and then obviously your reverb and pedal sockets there. And this particular one is serial number A24850. Customer has replaced the original speaker. I don't know if he's still got a fuse, honestly. It's very loose. speaker's been replaced with a Warehouse ET65. Wonderful speaker for this style of amplifier. Really works well. Said one issue he's got is that the reverb tank, as you turn the reverb control up, it's noisier than usual. And I'm already looking now. I can see the tank's in backwards. So the connections are along the front, along the back of the amp here, and they should be the other way around facing the front. So we'll have to reposition the tank for him. The valve chart there, AB763 circuit, which of course these all are. So yeah, nice and easy. What I'm going to do, before I do the voltage conversion, I'm going to fire it up on the test bench. I'm going to take all the internal voltage measurements that I need as a good starting reference point, so I know how the amp is currently running. Then I can do the conversion, go back and check, confirm everything is as it is. If it's not, then we need to find out why and take it from there. But of course, before we do any modification to any amplifier, we need to give it a full visual inspection. So I'm just going to pull the chassis now and have a look inside. Just to highlight this reverb cable, whatever they've done, they've used P-clips to tack it over the top of the speaker and then get the cable over there. But here's the original cable clips, or the mounting points for the for those P-clips. So why they've done it that way, I don't know. Who's been messing around with it? But this tank needs rotating over. And I guarantee that will solve half of the hum problems with the reverb. Victor Eric Anderson says, can I please put a link for the Watts cheat sheet that I have up on the wall? I normally say no to this because it's such an easy equation. You should all be doing this yourself by now. It's simply voltage squared divided by your resistance. That's all it is. So if you're doing 10 watts, so if you're getting 10 volts, 10 times 10 is 100, and you're into 4 ohms, that's 25 watts. It's as easy as that. But yes, if you go to the download page of my website, scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see the wattage matrix there that you can download and print off yourself. And the chassis. So first sign that I know somebody's worked on it before, other than the 3-prong conversion, is of course, some tech has marked this as the positive side of the caps underneath the doghouse. To be honest with you, if you know what you're doing, you'd never need to do that, because you would just know by default which side is B plus and which side is B minus. But yeah. Anyway, so let's have a look at these transformers then. Mains transformer, Schumacher, which is 606, 44th week of 1967. So we're getting into the tail end of the year there. The choke, 40th week, 1966. So that's a bit older, that one, nearly a year older. Sat around. Output transformer. '52nd week of 1965. Now, it's very unusual for that to happen. And if you look, there's a hole there, which is probably original. So I suspect this is a replacement unit, and that could be 1975. So they reused the mounting hole there, but it looks like they had to drill another one there. That's a shame, isn't it? But anyway, there's a reason that output transformer went at some point, and they've used a vintage replacement, which you've got to give them credit for. But is that an earlier transformer from December 1965, or is it December 1975? Unfortunately, you kind of have to guess. So I'll look online to see if there was a cosmetic difference between the 60s and 70s output transformers on these. I can't remember off the top of my head. External chassis stamp, 7th week of 68. Let's pull the doghouse off, see what kind of caps are inside. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rescue that. Let's play our game. What caps are inside? Do we think we've got the original Spragues, or Mallory, sorry? Do we think we've got Spragues, blue Spragues? Do we've got black F&Ts, blue F&Ts, or is there something else? What do we think? 3, 2, 1. Of course, Sprague atoms. Okay, let's have a look at this job then. Let's have a look what's going on. They're the originals, I think. Quality of the work, not great. I've seen better. That one's just, I'll zoom you in. That one's just tacked in. So they didn't even bother to remove the old lead. They just tacked it on there. Right, let's come in and have a look then. Okay, so this falls under not bad, could do better. But it is what it is. Date codes on these, put them, I think, I'll have to look them up, but we'll look when they were done and decide whether it's probably worth swapping them out again. No signs of venting on the positive side. Anyway, that's that. Right, having a look through. Oh, we didn't look at the reverb transformer. 40th week of 1967. The only thing I have found is that the rectifier valve socket incredibly loose. Whereas they're nice and secure. No clamping jaws, of course. Pins look okay. I think it just might be that socket. Is that a replacement socket? It may well be. Can't remember. So you're seeing this the first time as I am. That socket's the same. Okay. Put that back in. There's a lot of play in that socket, so we'll see if we can tighten the tabs up. If not, we might recommend a replacement socket. You see, that will rattle during playing. The speaker, that's enough movement for the speaker vibration to cause that to rattle. So this amp may have a rattle as well. Well, we can see why the the filter caps are replaced, because the doghouse is full of exploded capacitor. Yum, yum, yum. Psionic Lyle, hello, says, "Hey Chris, welcome to the crazy world of DC mixing that Fender does on these and the 68 custom amps. You're absolutely correct. The noise floor drops dramatically if you change it to a decoupled AC mixer." Yep, knew that, but it's just bizarre the way they've done that. Lots of theories. The easiest one to come up with is, of course, incompetence, but you know, who knows what they were thinking at the time. But yeah, it's such an easy fix and an easy way to do things, easy way to do it right. Why would you bother doing it the wrong way? Never understood that. But yeah, nice one, Lyle. Good to hear from you. Anyway, let's have a look inside. Mains transformer, bias board. Technician number 35, 4th week of 68. Okay, looking through. So, replacement screen stoppers on the output valves. Grid stoppers look original. We're going through. It's had the electrolytics done on the board, at least here, 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 and here. But here, it's got some really old RS caps. We'll have to test those, because I think they're older than religion, those things. Right. And the rest of it looks to be, you see, it's had the had some components replaced here. The plate sorry, the anode resistors and the coupling cap here. Is that a Mollard tropical fish? God, I haven't seen one of those in a while. Right. Okay, pots along the front. Here's what it is. There we go. Okay, so nothing horrendous. Have a look. Has it still got the... No, the death cap's been removed. So we're going to unsolder all of this. We'll put... we'll wire in the new transformer. And I might talk to the customer. Because ideally I'd like to drill 2 holes, 2 small 3mm holes here, one here and one just north of it. Then I can put a HT fuse in, and then I can have a star ground here for all of these extra wires that are coming off here. I would like to add some protection dies to the rectifier socket. That's always a good upgrade to do. Because if that rectifier valve goes pop, we want to protect the transformer, either the original or the replacement. So for the sake of 2 1N4 007s, it cost probably 2 pence each. It's a good upgrade and good protection to do for your amplifier. Right, so that's inside. I'm now going to get it on the bench, measure its output, measure the internal voltages, see where this thing currently is, and get myself a baseline. Fender Fixer says, "Hi Chris, where do you source your chassis? I know you do your own layout and sheet metal work, but where do you buy the blank chassis? Also, that PR50 looks like steel rather than aluminium. On the PR50 and the PR18 and the PR6, PR35, you are correct. That is a steel chassis. Those ones I buy in, they're kind of an off-the-shelf Princeton Reverb size chassis with most of the correct holes in place. I then modify them as required. It's just a cheap, easy way. Well, not cheap, but it's the best way of doing things. It's a high-quality product. It requires me just to add or not use what I do or don't need, and they're great and they're sturdy. As with the aluminium chassis, the blank ones, I get them from numerous places, and it all depends who's got stuff in stock. So I use a firm up north here in the UK, sheet metal firm, who do lots of, so if I'm doing a big order, it's cheaper to go through them and get, 25, 30, 35, 40 units done at a time. But they don't do welding on aluminium, so I then have to take those chassis to a local firm. I've shown it on this channel actually, who welds up the corners for me. That's great. And then of course I mark out and do all of my bits and pieces as I need to. There are one-stop places you can go to buy chassis. But as you said, aluminum, not aluminium, I'm guessing you're in North America, and therefore I don't really know. I would try places like Mojitone, see if they do something. But here in the UK, there's quite a lot of bits. Now, if I need something custom sized, I'll simply go to Modulus up in Scotland. For example, he's just done me this baby little chassis out of 2mm aluminum. Which is exactly the same quality as everything else. It's fantastic. And then I can just mark up and drill it as I need to. So that cost me, as it was on one-off, it was about £35 UK, including shipping, excluding taxes. So not too bad for a custom one-off. Obviously, if I order more, you get a unit discount, etc., etc. But yeah, that's what I do. This is a cool little project that I will be featuring on the channel, and it might be the genesis for something new for Rift. So we'll see. But yeah, that's what I do. You've got to shop around. Those blank chassis that I do buy in bulk, it's JTM 45 size chassis that are, and you can get them without outward flanges or inward flanges for your mounts. Yeah, I just drill and mark them as I usually do. Okay, so back on the 68 Deluxe Reverb, the one I'm doing the 240 volt conversion on, custom has approved all of the work, the extra work that I want to do. So we're going to replace the rectifier socket. We are going to fit a HT fuse and a new grounding point. I'm going to swap out these two caps here because they do need doing, and then give the amp a good service. Now, it's funny what you see when you start looking closer. It probably won't come up on camera, but the anode wire to the coupling cap out of the phase inverter, this wire here, that is a cold solder joint right there. If I wiggle that enough, that will pop straight out. So we'll check the other one as well. You can always tell when they go cold because you can see a gap around where the lead enters the solder joint. Probably can't see it on camera. And so I'm going to have to go along and check all of these now. Some of these have been reflowed by somebody else, but these two definitely need doing. And I'm sure that will be contributing to some crackling and whatnot as the amp warms up. So just while I'm in here, get that nice and hot. Do the same on that one. And that's a crisis averted. Rusty Strings says, "Hi Chris, you may have noticed by now, but that schematic for the 2204 Marshall is for the non-cascaded channel model that was only made in 1976. That design didn't sound as good as the 2203 100 watt, which was always cascaded. By the late 1976, the 50 watt was brought into line with the 100 and given the preamp that we all now know and love. Really pleased to see one of these on your bench, my all-time favourite amp." Yes, I caught that almost immediately, but as soon as I could, but the video had already gone out. So I'm glad you're switched on and you spotted it. But yes, that schematic is incorrect for that amplifier. So yeah, I'm currently working off the correct one. Weather update: it's an absolutely gorgeous sunny autumn day. Leaves on the ground, trees are changing colour. Look at this is wonderful. We've got blue skies over here, look. Deluxe Reverb, a little bit of progress for you. I'm not going to get this finished by the end of this video. I'll tell you why. So this is where we are at the moment. The rectifier socket has been removed. The custom has approved a replacement of a new socket. Those, is it Cenelex? Is that what they're called? Sockets. I don't usually stock those, so I've had to order some in. Today is Tuesday. They're going to be with me on Wednesday, but as you know, this video goes up on a Tuesday evening for channel members and then goes live on Wednesday for everyone else. So not going to get that done in time. Got the HT fuse holder in along with a new grounding point, and I've reused the grounding lugs from the old transformer there. And what I like to do with HT fuses, I like to fuse the high voltage center tab rather than the output from the rectifier. So that's what I'm doing there. We get everything else grounded that was grounded to transformer bolts there, apart from the safety earth, which needs to be its own separate point, of course. So again, with customer permission, we've drilled a hole, and that's where the safety earth is going to be. And I've strategically done it so the second chassis stamp remains visible, whereas of course this one is no longer. So at least that's still there, and that's good. But you can see the transformer is in. Keep the old one safe, of course. And the customer has also requested that I do a cap job on the amplifier. So the can we see them? Yeah, the blue sprigs that are in there. You can see them behind those valves there. He wants the job doing properly with F&Ts. I'm quite happy to do that. It seems those caps are over a decade old now anyway. Even though they test good, As I said, this is a proper working amplifier. It's out on the road nearly every night of the week, so and reliability is key for him. So doing a bit of preventative maintenance now while it's in and it's all apart is a good option. So that's what we're going to do. So I need to do all that as well. So as I said, not going to get this one done by the end of the video. Sorry about that, but you will see a resolution on Sundays. Robert Leon says, "Hi Chris, love the channel. Would be very interested to see the difference between a typical valve amp and a typical solid state amp on the spectrum analyzer to better understand the tube sounds better theory." I have said I will do this, and I will get around to showing you what the two look like on the spectrum analyzer. Unfortunately, it's not going to give you the answer you want, because it's only going to show the difference in harmonic content between the two. It's not going to give you the reason why one sounds better or the other. You will still see harmonic content in the solid state amp, but it will be a different profile and different levels. And therefore, and of course, why tubes sound better is not an objective opinion, it is a subjective opinion. Okay, so that's people's preference. There are many guitarists out there who prefer the sound of solid state amplifiers, and to them that is absolutely correct, and that's fine. And if that inspires them to make music, then it's the right answer. Of course, go the other way, there are many players who prefer the sound of valve amplifiers or tube amplifiers, such as myself, and therefore we think that tubes sound better than transistors. So all it will show you, as I said, is the difference between the two, but it is a subjective opinion, not an objective. Nice bit of progress on this Ainsley Lister signature build. So the board is now in. I've started wiring up the preamp sockets, the output valve sockets. The pots are all in and done. But obviously board is in with my unders and overs and all those bits and pieces. So I'm making good progress on this. I'm hoping to get this thing fired up by the end of the week. So yeah, coming on nicely. Really happy with it. I've still got lots of transformer wires and things to do, but they're done later on. But yeah, that's coming on nicely. I'm quite happy with this. Sometimes, and those who build amps full time will know, most of the time the builds go really smoothly, really easily, because you know you've done them thousands of times before, and you're just going through the process and the workflow. But every so often you'll get an amplifier that just seems to fight you every step of the way. And that's the case with this one. It's just for some reason, and it's not something that's tangible, I guess. It's just the way it is. It's just sometimes everything doesn't quite work out the way you intended it, and then you have to go back over and do a lot of it again. So yeah, it's fighting me a little bit, but never mind. Coming on nicely. I think the next step on this one is I need to do the second reverb socket, the foot switch socket, and the what goes here? The FX loop reverb level control. So that's the next stage on this. Carry on wiring the sockets in, do all my mains and stuff, heaters, inputs, you know the score. And finally, Andy Davis says, any update on the Rift bass amp? Yes, Andy, small update. I know it seems like I've stalled on things, but there is, I've got another new amp in the works that is taking priority, which I've got to get done and finished first. With the bass amp, I'm pretty much finalised on the first design of it, at least on paper, and then I need to build that proof of concept, that first working prototype. I'm currently talking with the transformer winder about getting the transformers exactly where I want them to be from the beginning, so I then don't have to go back and try a few different designs. I want a good solid foundation for the transformers before I do, and then I can build off that rather than having to keep going back on myself trying those things. So that's kind of where we are. Once I've got the transformers design finished and the transformers are here, I can build that proof of concept. I can get a working version up and running. I can then start the final tweaking and development on it there. But it is coming. It is happening. Sorry for the delay. I know you're keen, but as I said, I can only do these in a batch of 5. So I can't just do 1 or 2 unless it's going to be very expensive at that point. So to get the price reasonable, it's got to be done in batches. So I'm going to have to get the first one up and running, so then I can say, here it is. This is what it sounds like. If you're interested, please give me a call and put a deposit down. Just about to mark out and drill these 2 chassis. Now, one of them is for a 57 limited edition Tweed, the limited run 57 Tweed amp that you've already seen on this channel. The other one is an Americana. I use the same chassis for both. It's a great chassis. Unfortunately, the place I buy these from does them so that then they rivet the corners up. And I've shown this to you guys before. Now, sometimes they come through and the rivets are nice and tight and it's fine. But sometimes I'm going to clip the microphone to the chassis in the hope that you can hear. But if I tap the chassis, there's a tiny, tiny rattle that you can hear. And it's where the rivets haven't been pulled tight enough and they're rattling inside. Now, you might think that's not an issue, but in a combo amplifier, it absolutely is. There is going to be an annoying buzz or rattle on both of those if I don't drill out these rivets and put new ones in. And the ones that I use are a much tighter fit, I guess is what you'd say, and it fixes that issue. But this is the type of thing you have to do now rather than down the line. So that's what I've got to do first. So there's 4 on each side. On each of them, drill those out, new ones in, and these will be good to go. Then I can drill and mark and punch both of these chassis, ready to get these builds going. Well, that's it then, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, as always, please give this video a thumbs up. All your comments and questions down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're feeling really generous, why not join the channel? And I will catch you at the next one. But before we go, my 2 big things in life, of course, building amplifiers, the whole world of guitar and racing. And this weekend, it is the biggest race of the year. It's the 6-hour Burkitt relay race up at Silverstone on the full Grand Prix loop. The Burkitt relay, it's a team event. So we enter as a team. We've got a team of 3 cars. And as it's a relay race, one car goes out, does a stint. And as it comes into the pits, the next car goes out, does its stint, rinse and repeat for 6 hours. We have won our class in 2022 and 2023. So we're going for a 3rd win on the trot in our class this weekend. So really looking forward to that. It's absolutely brilliant event. 70 teams, well over 300 cars in total. And usually the race ends just before sunset, so it's really dark at that point. Last time out, I was doing the final stint, couldn't see anything. Of course, my car hasn't got any headlights, race car, so I couldn't see a thing. Chucking it around, having a great time. So, but anyway, the crossover I wanted to talk to you about is, here's my helmet. This is my race helmet that I had sprayed. I did my first year of racing was in this helmet, but it was white. And then after that first year, I had this spray job done on it. I think it looks great, love it. They've got the F for Fantana there, got my name there. Black over red, same colour scheme as the car. I mean, the detail on it is fantastic, but you have to keep these things clean. And the absolute best cleaner I found for this is Dunlop 65 guitar polish. It just, honestly, it could not do a better job on the helmet than anything else I've tried. And you know, if you know this stuff, it smells amazing too. So yeah, it's going to get everything prepped and ready, and then we're going to see if we can get that win. 3rd year on the trot, get myself the big trophy along with my friends. I'm racing with the guys who in my team who I normally race against throughout the year. We all team up into it and have a go at winning the Birkett, because it's a handicap race. That's the thing I didn't tell you. It's a handicap race, so any team can win. And what we mean by handicap is the faster teams are a standard, but they handicap them by giving the slower teams credit laps, almost like a head start. And then they, at the end of the race, they see how many laps you've done, you know, your laps on circuit plus your credit laps. They call it your gross laps. And then we see who's done the best job. And often it comes down to a couple of corners or a couple of laps. It's really, really close. It's done really well. I absolutely love it. It's my favourite race. It'll be the 5th time I've done it. But yeah, we're going to be out there in my shiny helmet, giving it all. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you at the next one.